So I just need to make more famous friends, but that's really hard. That's really hard, believe me. I'm trying. But it's so difficult. Famous people are scary.
Hi, I'm Will Richards and I'm here with Murray from Easy Life for the latest in NME's In Conversation series. Murray, how are you?
Hey Will, yeah, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Good. What's been going on? You busy?
Yeah, quite. We are trying to put this album out, which is, busy time of year, but it's good. Yeah, been on tour, been doing all sorts.
And how long after Life's a Beach came out did you start thinking about this one? Did you need some time to process the last record and everything?
Strangely enough, I'd actually already written a lot of this album before Life's a Beach had even come out, because like I said, with this album I actually submitted the audio and all the bits and bobs in January, and it's not coming out till October, so there is like this time, like I've had all this time now to start writing new music, which I haven't actually done. I've got no new songs, but in between Life's a Beach and maybe in Another Life, before it had come out, I'd just been in my own time just enjoying writing music again, and stumbled across quite an interesting idea or like a new sonic landscape which I hadn't really found before, and I was really inspired, so I just took it and ran with it, and within about maybe 6 to 8 months maybe I'd got this whole new album out of nowhere, and it wasn't my intention really to write an album. I suppose like as it progressed, I was very much like, okay, it looks like I'm writing an album, let's just go with it. But at the start I was just exploring. It was great. It worked really well because there's this whole thing about the difficult second album, and I'm definitely going to experience that now on the third album. Okay. It's going to be a difficult third album because like this one just happened. This one happened so easily. I was really blessed. I know how lucky I am because that doesn't happen for all artists. You know, sometimes you have writer's block, or you don't know what it's meant to sound like or what it's meant to be about. Both of those things I knew really early on with this album, so I was super lucky. Yeah. But like I said, with the third album, no idea. Could take me years. It might never come out. I don't know. I don't even know when I'm going to even think about making it. Like that's genuine. Whereas the second one literally just happened, so it was great.
Yeah. And when you said you wrote a bunch of songs instinctively and then you thought, I'm making an album now.
Yeah.
When you got to that point, did you realise that there was something in the songs you've written that you knew they needed to be together on this sort of length of project?
Yeah, so I'd written a few, and they all... the first song I wrote was Dear Miss Holloway, and it had this kind of... The chords were all quite classic songwriter sort of chords, and... Chords are like everything to me. They like define all of my music, like the types of chords that I used and the chord progressions are like super important. And I guess those chords it's actually just like a classic jazz chord progression. It's called like a 2-5-1, but it's basically like that. Those chords are just everywhere. They're like the most standard chords ever. But I was interested in writing like classic sounding songs and then sort of following that up with the production as well. It was the first album where I've recorded real instruments. I've always just sampled. Everything we've done has always been sampled or like synth based and always electronic, really inspired. Whereas this album and that song, it had like real piano. We took the piano recording and distorted it almost beyond recognition, but it did start with an organic instrument and it had like acoustic guitar, and we've always recorded real bass actually, but it had that, and then the drums, they were sampled, but I tried to make them sound as real as possible. So I was kind of chasing this classic sounding thing rather than... I think Easy Life for a long time has always been quite modern. I don't know, that's the shit word. I wouldn't use that word to describe any of our music, but I think in terms of my approach, I was quite a new age, kind of like the age of the laptop, you know. I was always very much laptop computer music, whereas this album felt slightly more like we were in a recording studio. We weren't, but okay. It sounded like we were. Yeah. And I got that one song that sounded like that, and I was like, wow, I love this. It excited me. It was new for me, and I wanted the album to sound like that. and I knew that that was like the cornerstone of the album sonically, and I just built on that, and it was snowballed. And I didn't really allow myself any time to question that. Only now, really, am I thinking, was that good? I fucking hope so. I don't know, but I just went with it, and I've honestly truly enjoyed it, and I think that was just so refreshing. It was nice to be just living it and enjoying it again.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say you had real piano but you distorted it, and you had sampled drums but you tried to make them sound real.
Yeah.
Is that something that you strive for? Like you said, it was more traditional.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But do you think you would actually just play a piano song and not have it filtered through something?
Yeah, I mean, there is a couple moments on the album where the last track in particular, the drums, again, they are actually sampled, but you'd never know. They sound real, or at least I think so. I hope so. That was the intention. The piano's like a very normal sounding piano. The strings, it's all organic instruments. And there are moments like that. But I feel like that's been done, you know, so I didn't want to do a whole album of that because, yeah, it's just very derivative of everything that's come before it, and sometimes feels quite pastiche, like quite 70s pastiche, and like, I don't know, everyone's doing that, so I didn't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. I still wanted it to have the easy life twist in the production or the songwriting.
Yeah.
So it was important for me to kind of distort a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite interesting. I spent like hours and lots of money recording pianos and then just taking them and destroying them and being like, okay, I could have just used a MIDI piano, but I didn't. And
but it's the process,
exactly,
right? Yeah.
Exactly. The process is important, and it's really fun. You know, I was just having fun. I really was, and yeah, I mean, the only reason I didn't record real drums, and this is legit, is just because it's long and expensive. You have to A, get a drum kit, B, get loads of microphones, C, get a good take, which can take days. Whereas, and I've never done it before, so it'd be like new, and I'd have to learn how to record them. Whereas I know how to sample drums, and it would take me like half a day to like get a beat that sounds convincingly like it was played live. Whereas like, yeah, and I can just do it on my laptop anywhere. So they're the only reasons. And to be honest, like, I've always wanted to record real pianos. We've always had piano in our songs, but I just always used laptop pianos because it's cheap and quick and easy.
Yeah.
But now I'm trying to be like, don't always do the easy route, Murray. Record a real piano. Why not get a drum kit? You know, I'm gonna buy a drum kit. That's what I'm gonna do.
Well, maybe that's where album 3 comes from.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like how to do things differently each time because it keeps it exciting, you know. So I think I'm gonna get a drum kit and see what that sounds like. Try and learn to record it. Who knows?
Yeah. And you mentioned a minute ago about the easy life twist on a formula. Are you more confident with this album that you could go in different ways sonically, but you've developed a grounding as a band that people know that this is easy life, even if you're doing another thing to what you did before?
Yeah, I think we're quite lucky in that from an early stage of our sort of career, if you will, like we switched things up all the time. Like each release was like sonically quite different. I think one of the things we've always done is have like quite the visuals have been consistent. I think our visual campaigns have always been quite similar, which has been nice because it's been like the only thing that's remained sort of identifiably easy life, because I think the songs and certainly the productions have changed a lot. So because of that, when we came into this album, I was like, it does sound different to the first one. I knew that the fans would just get it because it's like, well, obviously, like that's what they do. That's kind of our thing. Yeah. I'm glad we made that our thing because otherwise we'd be really bored and all our music would sound the same. Because I think a lot of my voice always sounds the same, which I'm so bored of. Like the melodies and talk about the same shit, you know, so we've got to change something, otherwise it's just the same shit every time, you know. So yeah, it's important for us to change what it sounds like.
Yeah. You were talking about musically, things just sort of started happening very quickly, very naturally. Was it the same lyrically? Was there stuff to pour out of yourself?
Yeah, I think because we'd had this, for the first time, we'd had this really bizarre like gap, and this, I think just when we did our last interview, like we weren't doing anything. Like we've been quite busy as a band for the last few years, and then all of a sudden we weren't. But we were still releasing like our debut album, but we just weren't touring it, which was so strange. And it was like this liminal place where we were kind of in between. We were still like active, but it felt like we weren't really doing what we wanted to do, or what we playing live really keeps us sane, and it's very. I don't know, there's a lot of, I think it's very important for us as people and individuals, like it's very affirming, like it feels good, you know? So to not do that was strange, and I think I had all this time to reflect on the journey so far, and I think that's where the Maybe in Another Life idea came from, because I was thinking of all the decisions we've had to make along the way and how we ended up here, wondering like, were they good decisions? And then when you're left alone for a long time, you start saying, no, they weren't good decisions, they were bad decisions. What have you done? And then, yeah, I guess that's what the whole album is, like trying to work out what could have been, how do we have done things slightly differently, or... That's not just like strictly Easy Life related shit. I mean, there's definitely some stuff where I'm talking about like Easy Life as a band and like what we've done, but most of it's like quite personal, and some of it going like way back in time to like some of my earliest memories and mistakes and stuff. But I mean, it was good. I think I needed to do that, and I've actually come out of that on the other side feeling like I know myself a lot better, and like I certainly know what I need to do to become a better version of myself, which is nice. Before making this album, I had no idea, so it's nice to at least know what I need to do. Whether or not I can do it is a different story, but at least I've I've learned a lot about myself in the process, which is kind of why I started making music in the first place. Always just like, it's like an exploration of self, and so I'm glad that I've sort of gone full circle, and that's where I'm at now, making music just to kind of explore ideas of like who I am, or who we are as a band, or who we are as a generation, or, you know, you can deep it on however many levels, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. And on Maybe in Another Life, are the lyrics we're hearing, are you at that point of acceptance, or are you in the like, what the fuck's going on stage of this process that you went through?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely times on the album where I say things. A lot of the times when I write songs, I actually have no idea what they're about until afterwards. And sometimes it takes someone else to tell me what it's about. Especially like the guys in the band, I might write a song about a particular thing, send it to them, and get a call from one of them like, is this about that thing that happened the other week? I'm like, you know what, it probably is, and like, I'm such a bitch for putting it in a song, and I can't tell you to your face, but yeah, so I think like a lot of it was just I learn a lot about myself through the lyrics, actually, which is kind of scary. Hence why I said I want to try and get to know myself a bit better, because it's a bit weird sometimes. I can take myself by surprise, saying things that I'm not sure I should have said, or if I'm ready to say, you know, because I feel quite vulnerable sometimes with saying that shit to like thousands of people that don't really know me. I'm like, is this okay to say?
Yeah, but I guess your brain is telling yourself that it needs to get out somehow if you're writing it, I suppose.
I also think like something I've learned outside of music, or just in general, like embracing vulnerability is such a powerful thing. Something that like all good artists and good people in general actually can do really well. You know, we're all so vulnerable and also insecure. If you can harness those insecurities and those vulnerabilities and use them, then they're really powerful and very provocative things. So I guess like with this album, I was, rather than ignoring all of those insecurities, I've just kind of spoken about them more for myself, but they sometimes sound like good little tunes as well, which has been good, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's important to embrace all the things that you're scared of in yourself. I mean, that's really deep, but that was I've been left alone in a room for a long time. You end up thinking like this.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the album is a lot about that kind of thing.
Yeah. And is the song Fortune Cookie one of the main like explorations of that?
Yeah, I mean, that one's crazy. That one is like a perfect example of what I just said with that. I wrote that actually about someone in the band. It's kind of like some Fleetwood Mac type shit where you're just like all writing about each other and no one will say it. And it was really weird. So, fuck. I don't even know how much I can say because it's like really, really personal, but there's some crazy shit has gone down in the band. In all of our lives, you know, it's just, things have changed.
Yeah, of course.
And in all of us are like well-adjusted humans. We you know, it is what it is. We deal with our shit, but from time to time, like, we don't. And there's many times when I feel like all of us need reminding that it's okay to feel vulnerable and it's okay to like express these things. And as a band, we're getting better at talking amongst ourselves and stuff. But I think Fortune Cookie's me like telling one of the lads like, it's okay, like, you've got this. Like, I'm here if you need to chat to me about something. I know it's hard to chat because having honest conversations is really difficult. But that's what it's about, you know, like just reassuring someone from a distance and saying that you're there. And we all need that. But yeah, that one's crazy. And that literally, I sent that to the band, and like the particular dude, like, he rang me in tears, and like we had this most beautiful like moment together, and I feel like we came a long way through that song. And that doesn't happen, like, that's rare. That's probably the only song actually that I've ever written that's had that effect on like my personal relationship. So yeah, I'm glad that happened, and it's super special. We played that actually for the first time on tour the other day, and it was magical because like we were like look at each other in the band, and like we all know what that song means and how it feels for us. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
You didn't need to have someone in the band tell you what that one was about.
No, and I knew they'd know. That was a weird thing about sending it. I was like, this could go, yeah, I hope this is okay. And I've actually had to like, I still don't even, like, I haven't name dropped the particular person because I'm not sure if that's, I think we've had this conversation with him, been like, are you cool with this? And I think he said yeah, but I'm not sure because my memory's terrible. But so yeah. But yeah, we all go through some shit, so.
Yeah, and obviously like the shit that you as a band go through is quite a unique thing for human beings to go through. If you got quite good at, you know, your friends that don't play in bands or your family, there'll be some things that they just can't get, whereas your bandmates will.
Do you know what, like, I've been thinking about that exact thing quite a lot. Like, I think certainly most of my problems, like, they're all just normal, like, problems that I'd have regardless of what I did for a job. I find all the easy life stuff, like, not that stressful in comparison to, like, the Murray stuff. Like, that shit really freaks me out, you know? Which is just stuff that parents and friends can understand, like, because they have the same shit. So, to be honest with you, like, yeah, it's more the personal stuff that bothers me.
You talked earlier about the song Dear Miss Holloway, which is a collaboration with Kevin Abstract. How did that come about? Were you a Brockhampton fan?
Of course, huge Brockhampton fan. That was actually a real moment for me. Super surreal. I was well nervous when I first met him.
Where did you meet?
I met him in LA.
Okay.
I was there in January of last year or this year. I was there. No, it was this year. Yeah, and I'd actually, like I said, that was the first song I wrote for the album, so it was finished. And I actually pretty much finished the album at that point, and he was working on a project that he had also finished, and we were just playing each other our music, and he heard Dear Miss Holloway and he loved it, and he was like, oh, maybe I could do a thing on this. So I made a little space for him and he just recorded it. It was really chill actually, but the whole time I was like, oh my fucking god, Kevin Abstract on an Easy Life song, wow. Mind blown. I was gassed. I couldn't believe it, to be honest. But yeah, he's a lovely guy.
Yeah, and he joined you at Glastonbury, right?
Yeah, he did his best. He did his very best.
Pyramid stage is scary though.
Yeah, I know. Oh my god. I mean, hilarious. I mean, it's actually better in terms of like the clickbait and the press. I'm glad he forgot his lyrics. We're talking about it. Had he have not, we probably wouldn't be talking about it. So, thanks, Kevin. It was mad, mate. It was crazy. He came like all the way from LA as well for that. But, it happens. I felt bad. Bless him. He felt real bad and like, I don't know. It does happen. I forget my lyrics all the time. And this isn't a song that he's ever rehearsed, so it was really, really funny. It's actually amazing. It's amazing. I'm glad that happened.
Yeah. Is collaborations something that you want to do more of? Obviously, this song was finished before Kevin came on it.
Yeah,
but have you thought about working from the start with other people on songs?
Yeah, so I'm not just plugging this tune, like, for the sake of it, but they released this tune, Antifreeze, with Gus Dapperton. And we wrote that together from scratch. And I've known Gus, we went on tour with Gus in like 2018. It was his UK tour, and we supported him. They were like the first gigs we ever did as a band. So I've known Gus for years, and we've always wanted to write songs together. So we wrote that together like very collaboratively. I love collaborating, but it's hard to find the right collaborators for all the reasons I've gone into about how deep and personal it all feels to me. Like, it's hard to say that shit to a stranger. So you kind of have to know the people. Like, they have to be like literally your best mates, otherwise I can't do it. I'm in awe of these people that like just come in and write songs with people. That's like a whole profession in itself, just like a songwriter, and you just have artists come through every day and you write a hit with them non-stop. It's mad. I don't know.
You don't think it's for you?
I've tried it.
Okay.
I've tried it, and it's never worked. Not once. So I stopped doing that about a year ago. Or actually, no, more like, time is so skewed now, isn't it? But maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, I stopped doing that actually, and realised that it wasn't for me. So I really am open to collaboration, but I sort of feel like I need to know the person.
Yeah.
Which I think is fair enough.
Yeah.
So I just need to make more famous friends, but that's really hard. Believe me, I'm trying. But it's so difficult. Famous people are scary.
Have you been thinking about how you scale up the live show for bigger venues? Is that an exciting thing for you to have bigger production, bigger venues to work with?
Yeah, so much fun. I love it so much. Like the production of the show is a whole world, and I'm in awe of that. I see so many incredible shows, especially like we've been doing a few festivals this year, and I've seen some incredible productions. It takes a lot of organisation and like creativity to actually put those things on, and stuff like you wouldn't even think about, just like, oh well, you need a lorry for that kind of shit, and then you need to like the driving hours, and you got to get like permits and all. It gets crazy like producing shows. It's mad. But yeah, we definitely can't just turn up with a few amps and a drum kit anymore. We do have to like think about it. I mean, we had some lights, like we bought in a lighting package for when we did the Brixton shows, but Ali Pali, we've got all kinds of tricks up our sleeves. But it's all mad, to be honest. And I can't really take credit for it. We have a great team, our like lighting designer and our front of house and our production manager and all that kind of stuff. Like, we give them the ideas and they're like, no, too expensive, no. Maybe you can have a few lights, and then we all agree. But we're trying our best. It's gonna be good. We've definitely got a few things planned. It's hard, because I've seen online, I've never been, like I said, but I've seen a lot of incredible. I've literally been looking. Well, we've all been looking at like what other acts have done at Ali Pali, and there's some stuff that we could just never afford. That's like just mental, So I hope people won't be disappointed when they see us and like, well, why haven't they got pyrotechnics? Like, well, fucking hell, it's like £50 a firework. Like, You must be crazy.
Times are hard.
Yeah, no, it's just mad, you know. Like you see there's a lot of good shows now, you know. That's the issue, but we're trying, and I think it's loads of fun for us to explore that kind of stuff, you know. I see a lot of bands, traditional bands, they just leave it. They don't really do much. Maybe they put like something at the back or like with their band name on. That's like the very typical British thing, like British band thing to do. And I respect that. That's still a thing. It's still a steez of its own. But yeah, we're trying to up the production, but it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's a whole new world, but it's good. It's really fun.
Yeah. I can't wait to see the show, and thank you so much for taking the time to chat today.
Oh, no worries, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.